So let me do one more thing here. There we go. Okay. So yeah, I'm in Sussex County. If you're not familiar where we are, we're in the northwest corner of New Jersey, a small rural county up here in New Jersey. Beautiful place to come to if you have a chance to get up this way. And so yes, I'm the Director of Records Management, Office of GIS and Records Management. I've been with the county about 15 years now, started in 2008, and I'm going to spend a little time explaining what we've done in that length of time. Before I joined the county, I worked for a little engineering firm, actually down in Yardley, Pennsylvania, doing process control, automation, data management for the pharma industry, which was fun, and a lot of FDA documentation, believe it or not. And that was a good grounding for what I took on when I joined the county. And when I got here, they never had a records manager before. And so we started from scratch. And I'm going to tell you that story and how, my thought process as I tried to start from nothing and put something together here. So in terms of topics, let me just a second here. I have my flipper working. Is it working? Hold on. I've got to be able to switch screens here. Is that not working? There we go. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. So, all right. So we talked about this, the idea of e-government and the challenge. We're all dealing with exploding e-content, for the a government agency, public records, and making those available, and then all the challenges of operational efficiency. So that's everything. You've got a different slice of the things I'm working on, but it's all the same challenges, I'm sure. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about today, it's kind of conceptual on my part, but an enterprise e-content strategy. And I think it's really a thought process that I try to apply to what I'm doing here. And then how to leverage the technology, talk about business process and records management. They kind of go hand in hand, obviously. And then I'll get into some case studies of some things we've actually implemented here, and then talk about some of our objectives coming up and where we're headed. So it all begins here with this idea of e-government, and the real problem that I think we all face is the fact that Google has given everybody the expectation of what we should be able to do. And the problem is that Google has billions of dollars to spend on it, and we have nowhere near that. So how to accomplish this and meet that expectation is a challenge. But it's really important, therefore, I think, to have an enterprise strategy so that you're leveraging everything across all the departments, all your technology, and it all fits together. And that's not easy to do. Okay, so do you have an enterprise e-content strategy? Well, actually, as I asked that question, a lot of people come back with this idea. I'm not thinking about it, oh my God. But I do think it's something to allow yourself some time to brainstorm and come up for a little air. And it's a way that, honestly, I think you can really, have some real impact for your organization once you get that ball moving. Okay, so e-content strategy, what is that about? Well, for me, it's really a vision of where I want to see things go. If you can't see it, you can't lead people there. And so it's really a personal thing, but, what do I want to have happen? And come up with some very clear expectations about what you want to implement. And of course, we all want a magic wand to make this happen. And this slide kind of talks about an observation of some things that I deal with here. And there certainly is no magic wand. So I report to IT. And one of my bugaboos is that IT stands for information and technology. The problem is that information management and technology, the plumbing of all the servers and network infrastructure, those are completely different disciplines. And very few people understand that. And management certainly does not. And so when they start wanting to have answers, they talk to IT, my boss, and don't often involve me in conversations that I should be involved with. In the perfect world, you've got a CIO and information and technology talk to that person, that person talks to management. But that's not the world. And so it's always a challenge. So how do you deal with this? Well, I think Dilbert says it all. Oh my God, I want to use open source software. It's free. Oh my God, better go see. I think he's been reading. Okay, hand it over. You must have a trade publication in here. Hand it over and nobody has to get hurt. So I keep that on the wall just as a reminder to get a ha-ha in the morning. Okay, so who is this guy? Well, this is part of my vision. I see myself as an undercover agent doing e-content development. And it's all about, again, getting that vision, having an intention, coming up with your strategy and be ready, because what you want is to wait for the opportunity. And I'm going to talk about, I've got some great examples of exactly how this kind of played out for me here. But once you have that opportunity, you better be ready to move, because you got to take responsibility and execute. That door only stays open for a very brief time, and you want to make your move. And again, when you have a strategy, hey, I want to do this, and it fits into everything else that I want to accomplish, and then you make another step forward. Okay, so we got a solution we need to deliver. We got to talk about resources. And so you got to keep an eye on the business process, document types, indexing, all things that we're familiar with, technology, politics, and funding. So those are kind of the pieces you got to keep an eye on as you're doing all of this work. And obviously the challenge here, we had e-documents, and it's even not e-documents anymore, it's e-content. We've got all of this born digital content, and paper is becoming less, although we're still generating an awful lot of it. And now we need to think about business process, data architecture, and the old way of doing business. We did the work and then we got organized. What we want to do is have the systems allow us to be organized just by doing the work. But I want to take just a second to focus on this topic here, business process and data architecture. A couple of buzzwords, and if you're not strong in the IT area, data architecture maybe isn't a term that you use, but I think it's something to think about. So this is business process, understanding business process really is an art form. And I learn things every single day about how to talk to people and try and figure out what their needs are. And the problem is that when you go to ask somebody, what kind of automation do you need? They have no clue. They don't understand your technology, your tools, what you can deliver. So you need to figure out where their pain points are and then come back to them. That's key. And then managing data, I'm going to show you some examples as we get into this, but one of the things that we focus on is making sure that wherever we can, manage data at one point and allow it to be used by multiple users. And when you can do that, then you're leveraging your work. You've always got great quality data, and everything kind of fits together. But not an easy, those are difficult tasks to accomplish. So managing your e-content. Oh my God, as a record. Well, this is a really scary topic. And when I start talking to women about this, oh my God, they freak out. And the guys are not any better. And when I turn around, they run out the door. So you got to try and keep their attention, get these conversations going. It's important to your success. And then, of course, we have technology. Now, there's another fun topic. And when you start talking about technology, you get down into bits and the bytes and, oh, I got this server and this upgrade and all this stuff going on. And, most of the time I find that people are not as excited about that topic as I am. And they kind of react like this. So I finally say, well, you know what, I'm going to take it off and come back and we'll attempt that topic again later. So with those ideas and concepts in mind, what I want to do now is kind of talk about what we've been doing at the county and where we started. So when I joined the county in 2008, they were just finishing a needs assessment. They had some funding from the state, which was being provided to help counties and municipal governments improve their records management. And boy, they needed it. And so they had just completed looking at the county and they found they had 25 million document pages of paper. And when I came on board, the first thing I did was do a similar project with the municipalities. We have 24 municipalities in the county. And lo and behold, we found they had another 25 million pages of paper. So now we have 50 million pages of paper to keep track of. Oh my goodness. And of course, the thing that we also found in the assessment was 55% of it was copies. I had 10,000 boxes in a storage facility that was growing 6% a year. Today, it would be over 20,000 boxes. And so out of all of that, the solution was implement EDMS, eliminate the copies, and tie it into your business processes. So that was kind of the starting point. And we executed on that. So in 2009, we bought OnBase. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this company. It's Highland Software. They're kind of a top tier at this point EDMS solution. And we're still using them. It's turned out to be a great product. And then in 2010, we implemented a workflow within the county. And one of the main workflows that we've got is related to resolution approval. And again, this is kind of a government thing. If you're familiar with government at all, we have the county budget is about $110 million. And every 2 weeks, the commissioners meet and they got to spend money. And the only way that they can do that is with a resolution. It's a legal document that they have to approve that gives us authorization. So if I want to buy or pay my maintenance on OnBase, I got to put a resolution in. It has to go through all the approval processes, go to the meeting, and then be approved so I can work on it. That workflow is in place. And it is this top tier of all the steps of the approvals. But the thing is that since 2015, we've been trying to implement, so you can see 8 years, my God, what have you been doing? Well, the timing was just not right to implement agenda management. And that is now going to take this workflow, the output of that, and automate the process of creating the agenda, which is a document that goes to the meeting. This is what we're going to vote on, and all the supporting documentation. So that's going to be a big deal. And we're excited about finally getting to the point where we can get that implemented, but it does take time. So the other thing that I do, and this is a technique, and I certainly would encourage you guys anytime you have a chance to do this. So I took this workflow, and it's a lot of detail here, but number of hours, what were we doing when we did it paper-wise, and what are we doing now with eContent and workflow? And I ground out those numbers, and I come up with 7.5 cases of paper a year and 135 staff days. And so this is the kind of thing I try and look for, these kinds of selling tools whenever I can find them that can help build the credibility about what we're doing, because I've got to get a budget approved and I want to make sure they understand we're delivering value. So now here's another topic. When I joined the county, again, we were starting from scratch. But when I it took me like 2 days to figure out I need an imaging center. There's no way that I can implement OnBase the way that I want to without being able to scan documents and to do it in a controlled environment. I didn't have the money. I was begging for money. I needed a space. I needed equipment. I needed staff. Oh my God. So this gets back to that idea of a strategy. And what I'm looking for is an opportunity. Well, guess what? This is what it looked like on the second floor in the admin building when I got here. This was the health department. And they keep track of septics and wells and food inspections and all this stuff. And they had it in open files that looked just like this. And it was a fire hazard. It was the scariest place I've ever been in my life. And one day I got called to a meeting by the facilities director. And I'm sitting in that meeting and he says, hey, you know what? The health department's going to move. We're taking them to a new building. And guess what? They're not taking their paper with them. He turned to me and said, Dan, you can take care of that, right? And I said, yes, I certainly can. There was my opportunity knocking, and I did just that. And I walked out of there and I went and talked to Tracy here. She's setting up the first workstation. This is probably in 2000, I want to say 11, 12. We went out and bought a scanner. OnBase has software management tools for actually doing a scanning operation, all the support queues and scan queues and so forth. We were poaching space. I didn't have any space, so this was below a garage. This is the food pantry for social services. So you can see on the left-hand side are all the bags of groceries for social services to hand out. And on the right-hand side are a whole bunch of file cabinets that I had them move from Vernon, who we were taking over, and started using that for my turf battle in the food pantry. And from there, 3 years later, I ended up with an office with my name on the door and some staff to help me, and just a wonderful space. And we've been in here for many years now. So made that opportunity work for us. So then in 2011, guess what happened? We had a flood in the record center. And a week after the flood happened, this is what it looked like. We were still digging out. It took 2 weeks to empty it. And this turned out to be another great opportunity for me. But to hear the rest of the story on this, you're going to have to come to the conference in April. Hutch has been generous enough to invite me back to cover this topic. It was a 6-year project, the most fascinating thing I've ever been involved with. 6 semis of paper, soggy paper, left that building after 2 weeks. And it took 6 years to finish the project. So I'll fill you in on that later. Anyway, so what was the impact? Well, the impact was that we now have 12 million document pages of paper out of our hands and into the system. We're working with all the agencies. We have reduced our paper content by 60%. And I now have a clean inventory and a document strategy with every single department. And here they are. I've got 22 main departments that I deal with. Every one of them has a different business process. And I work fairly closely with them. And, there's no big, countywide emails that go out and memos and so forth. I handle this as a one-on-one discussion and a relationship to evolve those strategies and how we're going to implement things, what they're doing today, where they want to be tomorrow, what technology they're using, what we can think about leveraging out of OnBase and some of the other things. So that's where we're at today. Okay, so technology toolkit. So what I want to do is give you a picture of the core technologies that we're using here at the county. So we started with OnBase. And they have when we bought that product, I was scared that IBM would eventually buy these guys and I would be stuck trying to, convert everything somehow. They have stayed on top of their pack and they are a top tier company now. So it's really worked out well. We have a third-party integrator, Navion, who is our system integrator, if you will, and key technology provider to help us implement things. We also work with Esri. If you're not familiar with these guys, they are the Microsoft of mapping. Whenever you see one of those maps about COVID, it's an Esri map that you're looking at. And we have a business partner there, Civil Solutions, who does the same thing, helps us work with integrating that. And then we have a new product that's just getting implemented here in the last couple of years, or not even a year and a half, in engineering, CityWorks. This is an asset management application. And so with these three pieces of technology, I really have myself covered. And if you look at the logo there for CityWorks, you'll notice it says Empowering GIS. And we have Esri, and they talk about GIS. OnBase is also tied in with all of this. So all three of these folks are business partners. And we work very closely to get them to talk to each other and identify ways that we can share these technologies and integrate them easily across their tech boundaries. So then we have the imaging center, and then my staff and myself, we're looking for that hole that we can plug. How do we use these tools, implement and define requirements, and then how do we maintain it? So this is a big topic. It's taken us a long time to get this all pulled together, but we really have a foundation here to work with. And just briefly on the EDMS side, I'm not going to dig through all of this, but we basically, OnBase has 150 modules. We only have about 5 or 6. Those modules, though, are highly configurable. So I can build things, fairly sophisticated solutions, without having to have programmers. So my guys that you saw in that picture, they're just techie geeks. They love playing with technology. We have lots of places where we can do training, and we learn and figure out how to make it happen. Okay, so now I'm going to move to the case study side of things here and give you a feel as to how we're working with the tools that we've got. So after we finished that resolution workflow in OnBase, one of the first things we realized that we needed to deal with was the tracking of vouchers. So I mentioned the commissioners and spending money. Well, they need to, every payment has to be supported by a purchase order, right? And the documentation of that, and that needs to be reviewed by the commissioners. And how do we track all this? So we sat down and we looked at this and we said, you know what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to scan these. I had the imaging center set up. It was one of our first big projects there. We threw a barcode on the PO, which matched the PO number. We could scan it, and OnBase had the ability for us to read this, and now I had that number. I didn't want to have to index any of this stuff. So that was one of the key things. And all of the information, though, about this PO is in the finance system. The PO number, the vendor, the check number, the amount of dollars, et cetera. And so what we do is we scan this, get the PO, shoot it over to the finance system, and suck that data back and index these documents. And we do this every 2 weeks before a meeting. We get a box and a half of paper that we need to run through, and we have a day to get it done, scan it and give it back to finance. And then the other thing that gets generated, finance produces this bill list. And this is, again, something that goes to the commissioners so they can see, well, let's see, Dan spent $450 on a box of paper clips. Why did he do that? Well, I want to look at it. Well, this document, what we wanted to do was tie it back to the POs that we now have in the system. So what we do is we've got another tech trick that we can do with this text document, and we run it through a utility in OnBase, and then we can take this check number and make it a live link. And so now I can run that, the check number is tied to the PO. I can go back and pull that up so that the commissioners can now see this documentation for their meeting. We've got this all done in like 2 days, and see the supporting documents. So one of the other things that goes on, and this is where, as you guys work with technology, I've been around software development for a long time, and I kind of know what goes on in the back room. And it's usually a bunch of young kids eating pizza, putting stuff together, right? So, there's always a way to skin the cat. The bank scans our checks, right, when they cash the thing. and they're available for 6 months, and then they go into an archive, and finance needs to see them. So I thought, well, let me go. It took me 5 years, but I went and talked to the Lakeland Bank, and the net result was I finally got to the right guy in the back room, and every 6 months, I send him a note, and he sends back a CD with all of our bank checks. And we upload this to OnBase, time to the PO, and now they can see the complete story right there without leaving their desk. Kind of a slick solution. Okay, so here's something else that, again, kind of ties to this idea of an opportunity. So after Hurricane Sandy hit, engineering was struggling because they wanted to get FEMA funding to cover some of their expenses, but they needed to provide documentation related to that. And we had it all, but it was all sitting in different silos. And we had a lot of stuff in OnBase. We had the vouchers here, the resolutions there. They had emails wherever, documents on their desktop. It was a major lift for them to pull that together. So we looked at that situation. We said, well, what we need is some kind of unique identifier so that we can slap it on things and be able to pull them out of OnBase or wherever we have them. So that led to this idea of a project ID. And I'll just run through this quickly. So what we do is we created a form in OnBase where this form is intended to describe the project. So a department engineering, I'm fixing a bridge. They open this up, say I'm fixing bridge XYZ. And when they fill out the form, the OnBase generates this project ID. And now we can start using that ID. So just to create that number and identify what the project is. So what we do is we then go to this resolution approval process that starts with a form, and we have the ability to add a project ID there. So now when that comes out of the back end, it's already indexed. I have the resolution. I'm now able to spend money. So now I can go to this finance system. I am another place I can put a project ID. I go to email and I can put a project ID in the topic, and I can get all of that into OnBase. And the final piece of this is that the users on their form have an upload button. So they can go to their desktop or their shared drives and start pulling documents in. So now they have one place to gather all of that information by the use of this project ID. And this is just going live. It's taken us a few years to get this pulled together, but it's finally happening. So now we're going to show you a little bit about GIS. So if you think about county and municipal governments, it's really all about property. Everything is about a property, and New Jersey is a home rule state. So every municipality controls what happens on their properties. They're responsible for their own tax maps and what happens on a particular piece of property. They approve that. And so this is where we start. We've got a map. We have all of this information, and we've got all the parcels on here. And what we have finally been able to accomplish, I talked about getting OnBase and Esri talking to each other. Well, now what they've done in this solution, you can't see it, but there's an OnBase icon. It's a widget that I get from OnBase that I can put on my map. And what we do is that widget, we tell it, okay, I'm going to give you block and lot based on the parcel I click on. And I want you to go to OnBase and pull all of those documents that are related to that parcel. And what a great solution. And so now I can pull up the tax map. I can pull up the septic plan. And this is a great thing for the public. I get realtors, we have homeowners, shopper, people looking for houses. We have engineers, all the municipal folks use this all the time. And so it's been a great way to deliver content out to the public. So I'm going to, I mentioned the idea of managing your information, and this idea of maintaining what I'll say is a golden set of data. Okay, so in GIS doesn't work unless we have good parcels. We have 72,000 properties in the county. Oh my God, maintaining that, how the heck are you going to do that? Oh my God. So we've been working on this for a long time, and we're about 99% accurate. And the way that we do that is this form. Again, you can't read this, but on the right-hand side, says parcel data. So I have my database of the parcels. I have every single seven of those 72,000 block and lots listed. And then the municipal tax assessor, they have a system where they put their tax information. So they take a farm, break it into 32 new parcels, and then all of a sudden I don't have those. And I run this comparison, this bottom line here, you can't quite see it, but on the left-hand side, I have a parcel showing from the mod 4, and I don't have one on my parcel layer. And that's given me a cue. And so then I start hunting, because they don't tell me any of this stuff. So then I know I got to look for a deed. I got to find out what they did. They changed the lot line. I've got to go over to the GIS. I've got to change the graphics, so that works. And then I have to go into OnBase and update the indexing now with these. I add the 2 new parcels to the original. So no matter what you're looking for, you're going to find that document. And then of course, things change going forward. So it doesn't happen by itself. And why is it important? So now we got that clean parcel data. We use it to drive that map that I showed you with the OnBase on it. And here's a map that is being pushed to the 911 dispatch. So this is a situation, if we're not accurate, someone could die. So it's important that this information be maintained, and that's the way that we do it. Okay, so one final little tidbit of, I guess, working with selling automation. Find a champion. This is so important, and sometimes it's easy to overlook, but that's part of the opportunity striking. If you're trying to implement automation and there isn't somebody in that department who's willing to stand up and make it happen, it's going to be a lot tougher. Because automation doesn't happen by itself, and you got to have somebody in there kind of fighting for you. So I'm going to tell a little story about a champion that we've got. Mosquito control is a fascinating piece of work that is done by county government. And it's just an amazing set of science, understanding mosquitoes, disease, where they're at, where they're breeding, spraying to control them, managing all of these workflows and the data related to that. So we've got a young lady named Paige, and she is a champion. She is just totally on board with GIS technology. And so she's got these aerial spray maps that were generated. They've been in use for a long time, and they've never changed. And she has topographic maps that have 20-foot contours. And that means that you need a 20-foot difference in height before you can see a difference. Well, that's not very, very good. And she started digging around, and she found that the state has their own data that's 2-foot contours. And she came back to us and said, hey, can I get that information? I said, sure. So what we did is we helped her get that data and lay it down on the map. And you can see now all of this detail. And on the Esri side, they've got tools to now help us give this some contour. And now we can add the shadowing. And so now it becomes very visible. And guess what? Mosquitoes don't breed on the top of a hill. Big news. So now she can take a look at this map, and now she has much more information to work with. And sure enough, she's been able to now change her scanning profiles out in the application profiles out in the field. And this has just happened in the last few months. She's demonstrated she can reduce the application by 20%. That translates to $10,000 per application. She does 5 of these a year. That's $50,000. And we had a meeting with one of the commissioners here a month or so ago, and we talked to him about this, and it had an impact. And this again is demonstrating, well, why do you have mapping technology? How do you use that? Why do you use it? It's these kind of case studies that make all the difference when you're trying to make your case. Okay, so kind of wrapping things up a little bit here, education, I touched on this earlier. One of my goals is to make everybody a power user. And again, I don't send out memos, we'll do rollout training and so forth, but training to me happens very much one-on-one. And as an example of one of the things that I do, I try and find something to help people to get better at their jobs. Here's something I'm going to leave with you guys. If you don't know anything about the snipping tool and you use a computer, you need to check this out. Go, next time you get back to your computer, click on the start and start typing snip, and you'll get this tool. Google it and find out what it does. It'll change how you work. Okay, so just to finish up then, 2023, I've touched on most of this. So our enterprise strategy, get everyone involved. We're going to keep working on that. We just completed an upgrade at OnBase. I was 5 years behind on my upgrade, so that just got done and is really opening up our opportunities left and right here. So very exciting. Clerk of the board, agenda management, project ID, all of these things are rolling out this year. And we've got that doc viewer that we just got up and running. Archive management, we haven't talked about the record center, but we've got some things going on down there with inventory control. And then one of the key things is OnBase and staff development. And it gets back to that training idea. We have lots of training tools, and I'm constantly after my guys to explore the training resources, what's new from OnBase that we can use in the GIS front. So that's kind of where we're headed, where we're at, where we've been, and kind of paints the picture for you. And so the last thing, if you need some help, who are you going to call? Well, I've got my big finale here, and I appreciate the chance to share with you what we're doing here in Sussex County. And we are ready to take on 2023. And here it comes. Oh, count on us to bail you out when your records are in trouble. Okay. All right. There we go. All right, big finish. Okay, there we go. All right.
I have to say that was the most polished presentation I've ever seen.
All right. Well, you know, I come at it with this basic understanding. Records is the most boring topic to think about. And I've got to do everything I can to keep people involved. So anyways, I have fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Definitely a fantastic job. And I'm saying we're certainly looking forward to your presentation in our April seminar.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, that, you know, I haven't really looked back on that for 5 or 6 years now. And it's still scary, you know, and I was telling Much when we got on the phone, I had a call from the sheriff just when was it? It was last Friday. They have a block building on the top of the hill, perfect spot, no groundwater. Their sprinkler system burst a pipe, and they had a flood. And so I was up there and I walked into that building and it was like deja vu. I just started shaking. I mean, it was like, oh my God, let me out of here. Yeah. So.
Well, we definitely have some questions here. Everybody's, you know, really
impressed. Yeah.
One right here is like impressive work. That's from Mark Demeka. And he also has a question. He'd be interested in knowing how you might benchmark the capabilities of surrounding municipalities and how you might collaborate with others in your same role across the state.
Run that by me again. Let me see if I understand the question.
He's interested in how you might benchmark your capabilities with surrounding municipalities.
Okay.
And how you might collaborate with others in your role, in that same role.
Okay, so the municipalities is a passion for me, and I have not been able to achieve what I want to achieve. So I do work with the municipalities. Like I said, back at the beginning of time, we did that assessment, and I know very, clearly what their problems are. It's interesting. We actually do, I take it back. We do an awful lot for the municipalities right now. So that parcel layer and the septic documents, the tax documents, the tax maps, site plans, those are all municipal documents that the county has for one reason or another. And I make it available to them. So we're already doing an awful lot with them. One of the things, though, that I would like to do, and it's hard to get the politics lined up, is I now have this on-base resource here at the county. I've got an imaging center. I know how to do all of this stuff. And and I worked with on-base. They're willing to help me get things implemented in a municipality. There would have to be some money involved, and we could leverage what we're doing here. But I have not been able to get the politics to line up. So I'm looking for my opportunity to open. But I think it's just a matter of communicating and just, looking for that opportunity. So I'm partway there in terms of doing stuff for them, and just keep the dialogue going is my strategy there.
We have another question. What are the challenges in getting vendors to cooperate with each other the way you did? I mean, you really had them working a lot together.
Yeah, I mean, that is, you just need to squeak the wheel, and you need to position yourself, try to make yourself somehow a showpiece for them. Like what we're doing with that parcel viewer that I showed you and getting the on-base documents on that. We were the ones squeaking the wheel. They had nothing 7 years ago. And we were talking to the product managers at OnBase. We were talking to the guys at Esri. I've got relationships myself with these guys. I go to the conferences and I burn their ear up, and I sell what we're doing. I mean, and I'm fairly proud of what we've accomplished here, and we stand out. We really have something to crow about, and they recognize it. So it's a win-win. They want successes that they can turn around and tell other people about. And when you kind of get that ball moving, then it can happen. And I tell you, actually, this afternoon, we have a meeting. So engineering, I talked about them implementing CityWorks. Okay, that just happened in the last year and a half. They have a lot of GIS data, and we have a lot of on-base stuff. And the engineering manager has now become a champion. For years, didn't have the right people in place. The opportunity finally came. I got a young guy, he's buying in, and he is driving a meeting that's happening this afternoon. And I've got product and account managers from OnBase, from CityWorks, from Esri, who are going to be on a joint call this afternoon with the director of engineering, who wants to talk about how we set up our strategy for all these things to work together. What's all ready to go, and what needs to still be built? Do we need to build it ourselves, or do they need to build it? So, I guess, finding those stories that you can tell, and then don't be afraid of, getting in their face and say, hey, come visit us. We're doing great. Or I got this problem here. Can you help us solve this? And, just get them involved. You got to be squeaking the wheel.
And we got another question here. And someone says, oh, it's amazing that you created this whole process from scratch. Where do you recommend companies or firms begin if they also have to start from scratch?
Well, I think you need to.
Remember you mentioned vision. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that's where and it really depends on the individual. And I would say that if you're in a situation where you've got that, you have virgin territory, you have a chance to make a career for yourself. You are the one that can have the vision. You're the one that can figure out how to sell it. And what I would do is look around and try and figure out where is a problem that I can solve. And, I've got this technology, or if I could get this little piece, or what are the resources, heck, call me up. I'll help you brainstorm stuff. And what you want to do is look for a success. What is something that I could implement, even if it's with Adobe Acrobat, put a form out there, collect data, get started somewhere. And something that you can deliver in under 2 months, start to finish. Here's the idea, and 2 months later, you got a solution. That's where you want to start, because that success will demonstrate your credibility and give you the ability and the opportunity to take that next step. Oh, if you only gave me another $5,000, look what I could do here. So you got to get the money, but you need to, it's like me going into that, I knew I needed that imaging center and I had nothing, and nobody was going to give it to me out of the box. At the time I was doing that, I was sitting in a cube in Treasury, and what's that guy doing over there? They hired a product records manager. What does he do? Nobody knew what I was doing, but I could see where I wanted to go. And when that door opened, it was like gangbusters. I was through it. I knew, and literally we were up and running, and it was, don't stop us. We're, and we were saving the health department, and we, put a flag in the ground, and away we went. So look for that place where you can start. Don't think, you don't need to climb the mountain all in one step. Look for a place where you can deliver something you've got confidence in, you got the resources to deliver, and make that happen.
Right. What encouragement did you get along the way, if any, from upper management? I know you really made some big differences there with that mosquito project. Was very interesting. That's $5,000 or $50,000. So everybody loves that. But
Right.
what's your encouragement?
Well, I think, yeah, with management, again, they react to success. Okay. Nobody understands, even after all these years, they don't understand what we do. And in a political environment, you have elected officials, and God help you there. I mean, they have, they've got a totally different agenda. But county management, nobody bothers me anymore. It's like, oh, don't bother them. I don't know what they do down there, but it's working, And so the key is to have the successes. Don't worry about if management is going to sell it for you. Just don't, you want to make them look good. That's why you want, that little project. Find, and you want a champion. If you can, your boss or your boss's boss, you can solve a problem for them and get something to work in 2 months. Well, they'll talk to, oh man, this is great. Oh yeah, let him do it. Oh, give him that $5,000. My God, look at what he did for me. So yeah, look for a way. But it's, I never wait for management to, come and open the door for me.
A question about one of the vendors. Does OnBase generally work with a particular type of organization, solely government, or they?
No, they are across the board. I mean, they do a lot of stuff in healthcare and insurance, but their product will, it's a great product. If you haven't looked at it, definitely check them out. I can, plug into the, Navient is our, sales group that we buy through. So you need a third-party vendor to buy from, but, you can contact them directly and they'll set up a demo. They'll be happy to talk to you, but it's, yeah, they really have, like I say, a toolkit, and, so it can address any business requirement.
And here's a question someone wants to know about you. How did you start building your records, your knowledge of records management? It sounds like you got a handle on a lot of aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I do have some special skills that I brought to the party. So my background is in engineering, believe it or not. So I spent, before I got to the county, my work was technical sales. And like I said, I worked for an engineering firm for 10 years, and I was selling automation, data management, process control automation solutions for the pharmaceutical industry. And so after, I guess, the main skill that I developed in doing all of that was the ability to look and assess a process, whether it was a manufacturing process, a business process. It was a process. How does it work? What are you doing now? What technology is being used? That just runs in my blood. And like I say, it's an art form. There's no easy way to get good at that. And I am constantly in a process of improving my abilities. But that is one of the key things. And then the other aspect of it is, working with this engineering firm, we were dealing with technology vendors, and we developed software ourselves. And so taking requirements and defining how to get something built, I'm very comfortable in that arena. And that's really what allows me probably to talk to these vendors on, toe to toe, hey, how are you doing this? Why is this screwed up? Come on, you guys can fix this. So though that combination of skills is really the thing that I brought to the county with me, that technology background and the process assessment background. And so whatever you don't know, and everyone's at a different level. And like I say, you're always learning. Technology doesn't stand still. I'm scrambling like heck to keep up with what the vendors are throwing at us. So it's a constant learning process. But those are the things, just a love for technology and what it can do and how it can be implemented, and a belief that, I can impact people's work environment. If they give us a chance, but that's where you need the champion. So
great. Well, thank you. I think we've got a couple of comments here. Excellent, really impressive and well done, and great job, very informative. I think those are not to everyone, but I wanted to make sure you heard those.
Yeah, excellent. Well, listen, it's we're all dealing with some of the same tasks. I'm glad that you maybe got some ideas to run with, but feel free to contact me. I'm always happy to brainstorm things. If I can, provide any help along the way, happy to do it. So, don't hesitate to reach out if you want to talk about things further.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, great.
And don't forget, next week, that in April, that you'll be speaking again. And I think I'll put my screen back here.
Okay.
Just so everybody, I know some people may have missed what was happening. That's our next presentation next month. And that's a virtual seminar. And like I said, Dan will be returning for that and giving us his firsthand experience with, disaster recovery. So that should be fantastic. And so I think that's it.
All right.
And I would like to thank you very much. That was super informative. Like I said, incredibly polished. And I think everybody really got something out of it.
Dynamite. You guys take care, and good luck with your own environments.
Well,
thank you so much.
All righty. Bye-bye.
All right. See you, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, bye, everybody. Thank you for attending.
Do you want to turn the video or the recording off?
As a matter of fact, I think I will. Thank you for that.
Anytime.
Right.